He really does great in low light with 0.01 lux. We've got some other specs in that get a little crazy. They're both PoE plus. They're both NDI controllable. $15.99 to $27.99. I want to now talk about a feature that's super cool, and I love when I'm in sync with our vendors. So we were planning on doing this show last week, and little did we know that Dan Mail, the chief engineer and president of BirdDog, was going to be putting together a video about the color shading tools that they have. Now, color shading, color grading, color correction, different ways for kind of really saying the same thing. So I'm going to use them interchangeably, but what BirdDog has is a cam control tool that is super cool. Over NDI, over your network, you can log in, install it on a Surface, an iOS device, whatever you want to run it on, and it gives you an incredible amount of control of the color and image quality of your camera, be it the P100 or P200. So this video is what Dan just put on the P100, and look at how these colors can pop with the little thing that he's going to show you on how he's using it to, Dan's using it to amplify the green color and some of the other colors. Let's roll that video of Dan, and you can watch the whole video too.
Across the top here, you have a number of different settings. For today, we want to go to the AV settings. So with green, what I can do is go down to the green gain here. And if you have a look at the plants on the image, if I turn the gain up, the gain increases significantly, so the green starts to pop out more. In this particular shot, I'm going to turn up the green gain again and move across to hue. When I move the hue, you can see that color wheel is moving the green towards the blue range or towards the yellow range. By the same token of what I've adjusted the green with, I can adjust the magenta here, so I can increase the amount of color that's being represented on that particular flower.
Cool, this whole video is available on the Videoguys blog. You can also see it on YouTube. Great video, goes a little into more than just that. We just wanted to pick a little highlight piece of you, but this is one of those tools that when paired with these cameras really takes them from not an 8, 9, or 10, but really takes them to 11. One of the things that we have found is when you're in a studio setting or a house of worship setting, one of the challenges when you have different cameras from different manufacturers, and in our studio we have the P100 over here, and this camera that I'm looking at is the CX350 from Panasonic. I can't believe my shirt cut back and forth. My shirt looks like the exact same shirt in both pictures. And that's something we have always struggled to do in our studio. And why is that a struggle? Because I've got a green screen behind me. I've got lights that throw bounce with angles and things like that. So it's not that the cameras are good or bad. I've got to match the different cameras for their own quality, but I also want to match them given that the lighting is always different depending on the angle that you're shooting from. And this tool is phenomenal. Kudos to the gang at BirdDog, and kudos, Dan, on a great video. You really killed it with that one. Now I want to talk about their outdoor cameras. Now, I realize these cameras aren't for everyone, but if you've got a high school or you're a D2, D3 school looking to put some cameras out there on your tennis courts or what have you, or perhaps you have you want to put a camera outside that you're in a national monument area where you're in a tourism industry and you want a camera that's going to show, you know, what is people walking by, or here the example of the rocket launcher. These outdoor cameras are phenomenal. Basically, you're getting the quality you're getting with the P200 with a rugged, all-terrain, all-weather-proofed housing and everything like that. Yeah, these units are a little expensive, but you know, if you need that outdoor, you want to have it. They will work with a PoE injector or through DC power. They're fully NDI controllable, so if you run a cable to them, that's a single Ethernet cable, not only do you get the video over that cable back to you because of the miracle of NDI, but you can get all the camera controls going forward, including those color tools that we just showed you before. So I love both those cameras. They do a great job. You can see in this picture here, it's they're using the A200 at a race car, NASCAR race. Here's an example. There's an actual A300 that was used, you know, to show the White House. You know, I think this was used by one of the, I'm not allowed to say who it was, but you saw this shot on TV a lot over the election season. Let's just put it that way. So BirdDog's gotten some big wins with the networks, with some sports leagues and things like that. We're really excited about their cameras. Now let's talk about the 4K stuff. And if we can get that image that's on those 4K cameras for a second. We've got two flavors of the 4K cameras. We've got the P400, which is $39.95, and we've got the P4K, which is $79.95. Now, these cameras are for very different purposes, so I want to bring up this comparison chart full screen if we could, Oliver. Oh. So you can see that the P400 here is a 20x, whereas the 4K is a 12x. And one of the big differences that you're going to see with the P4K is they really wanted to make a camera that could be used by like the Hollywood studios, that could blend in and be mixed with cinema level cameras and still have the video look great. So that's where they were coming from with the P4K. The P400 is a great 4K camera at 20x, you know, that you could put in the back of a church or something like that. But the P4K is limited to 12x, but the image quality and the glass on it is second to none in the industry. So I want to just try to explain that a little bit better by doubling back a little bit to like the P200 versus the 400. Now, if we bring this slide up full screen, you'll see that these cameras are a little more similar to each other, you know, but the 400 obviously is a 4K camera, but you're going to get 20x out of the P400 versus 30x out of the P200. So if you're going to pick a 4K camera because you want 4K, that's great, but just because the camera says 4K doesn't mean all the other specs are better than an HD camera. You got to pick the specs that meet best for your room, for your lighting, for what your workflow is. But we really love the P400. One of the things I like about it, it's PoE++, needs a little more power than the PoE that the P200 will run on also. And then one of the things that's happened is Fox Sports, and this is a killer. Fox Sports said this camera is a game changer. They were evaluating the P4K. That's the big puppy over here. If we could show it, and this is the one that's got the Carl Zeiss lens. It's got 0.067 luxes. It's got an extremely great optics in there. It's really made for if you want an all 4K workflow and the 12x throw is enough to cover your studio, the room of what you're shooting on, you're not going to find a better 4K camera for this price of $79.95. If I'm going to talk about PTZ cameras, I got to talk about controlling the PTZ cameras. Now, one of the things that you saw is I had Oliver working the camera today, and as I mentioned, Oliver was working the camera just from the TriCaster itself. So Oliver, if you just pan a little to one direction or the other, and I'll move with you so you can see I'm moving. And now let's move me back, and I'll move back a little bit. You know, it's okay for the motion, but this is not really, Oliver's not trying to track me. If you want to get into a situation where you're tracking someone, you need a joystick controller, and especially you need a controller that's got a nice little, you know, a joystick on it. And that's going to give you much better control. And this is a nice little controller from BirdDog that we really love for $15.99. One of the coolest things about it is NDI. So if I put this controller anywhere on my network, it'll control my cameras that are on the network that are NDI as well. So it gets you, it's IP, it's NDI, it's VSCO over IP, it's RS422. Great little controller for $15.99. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about the great promotion we're running with this puppy right here. And that is you get 3 P200s, and we're going to give you a free BirdDog Easy Keys controller. 3 cameras, free controller. 3 cameras, free controller. Quite a deal. And that's like getting off over $500 per camera because that controller is $15.99, folks. You're going to get it for free. Okay. I said I was just going to focus on the PTZ cameras, but I think I have to go a little bit into some of the software utilities that these guys have put together for these cameras at BirdDog because they're so cool. And I think they can all be used in different workflows. And we showed you about the control tool before where you could set, you know, your camera controls. Well, let's talk about 3 others that are really important that I love. BirdDog Multiview is a great way where you can run it on any computer in your NDI network, and it's going to show you all your NDI cameras for a multi-view. Very useful for large-scale productions, especially if you've got, you know, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 cameras. BirdDog comms, every BirdDog PTZ camera and BirdDog converter includes a headset mic jack where you can put a comms in, and you can run BirdDog comms now where over NDI you can communicate with camera people or talent in the room or what have you. And then BirdDog Central is just a great way to send any video to any other place on an NDI network. Now, when you're working with NDI video, every NDI device can see each other. With BirdDog NDI Central, it allows you to control what's going where. And remember, with BirdDog's decoders, and that's for another show, the decoder takes the NDI over your network and converts it into HDMI or SDI so that you can then power it on a TV. Next thing I want to talk about is something super cool, and it's not for everybody, but for remote production, BirdDog has their own BirdDog Cloud, and the BirdDog Cloud allows you to control remotely BirdDog cameras and BirdDog devices to talk to each other. So we actually were using the cloud in a little test setup where we had myself here in our studio, Glenn from Broadfield Distributing in Texas, and the guys down under in Australia. And through the cloud, we were all able to communicate and actually produce a show where Glenn was able to take control of the camera that was down in Australia and the camera that was here, and to mix the show and to do the mixing and all that. And this leverages SRT technology and the BirdDog Cloud to give you your own remote workflow solution. If you're interested in finding more about that, give us a call. We'll be happy to get you on with our BirdDog Cloud and SRT experts to go over that a little bit further in depth for you. This is a little, let's bring up this slide before we do that. And this slide kind of goes over how the BirdDog Cloud workflow. So you've got the remote studio, you can have a machine room, you can have a monitor, you can stream from anywhere to anywhere, multi-viewers. It really, people could be all over the world producing a production remotely. It's really incredible where this technology has gone. Let's bring up my favorite lower third. You know, in 2020, we made stuff work. In 2021, we're going to make it work better. We're going to make it easier. And BirdDog Cloud is a way to take remote production of people all over the world via SRT in the BirdDog Cloud. You can operate PTZ cameras. You can have someone on a mixer like a TriCast. You can have someone else just watching all the shots to call the shots and producing the show in another room with a multi-viewer that's running, you know, BirdDog Cloud. So it's just incredible what you could do there. Great job to the guys at BirdDog. And this whole remote workflow thing is going to be something we're going to get much more into as 2021 progresses. This is the chart I told you about that we put together. This is going to be posted on our website where you'll be able to download it. We're also going to make it available as a PDF for people to download. But I just wanted to leave it up here for a few seconds. And I'm going to kind of stop talking and just let you kind of get a look at all the different things that we've shown on here of how you can compare, you know, the different BirdDog products, because we really wanted to have one place where you could really see and understand everything that makes the products unique and different. So take a little gander at this. We know we covered a lot of stuff in today's show. There's a lot more to the BirdDog product line than just PTZ cameras. As I said earlier in the show, BirdDog is taking NDI to the next level. Outside of new tech, there's no company that we think is pushing the envelope further and stronger and harder than the folks at BirdDog. They have taken an approach where they have concentrated on full NDI, and they've put it on chips so that it's integrated into their products, which is given zero latency. It also takes some of the pressure of decode, encode off of your head-end machine like your TriCaster, your Wirecast Gear, or your vMix. And through full NDI, it really is fantastic for things like sports production, or when you're going to do IMAG in a house of worship, because latency can kind of throw things off. So today's show was all about the PTZ cameras. We are going to do a future show just on their NDI encoders, but I just want to quickly go over what you're seeing there. And the triple little spot that's all the way at the end, dun, 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 oh, I can't do the weatherman completely, is the BirdDog Flexes. In the middle is the BirdDog 4K, including the BirdDog Quad, and then we have the Studio and the Mini. So BirdDog doing a lot of great cool stuff with their converters and their PTZ cameras, and put them all together, and no one could deliver a more complete workflow for you than the folks at BirdDog. And I want to stress again that with BirdDog encoders that have, encoders mean you're taking like an HDMI signal into a device and converting it into NDI. A decoder takes that NDI signal over your network and converts it into HDMI or SDI. So with decoders, I can put a television in an overflow room from a house of worship. If I'm a producer, I can have the producer in a separate booth in the area. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff you could do with NDI decode as well as encoding. So that kind of wraps up our show today. I thank you a lot. I came back in around 20 minutes again, so I'm getting a little better at it, Oliver. I know Sometimes I talk a little fast. I'm excited about these products. The guys at BirdDog, they take NDI to 11. You gotta love it. So today's show, BirdDog cameras. I want to just go through all these puppies because I love them so much. The P100, the P200, the P400, and the P4K. We've got a BirdDog camera for every workflow, for every solution, for everything you need. They're affordable, they look great, they have great tools to control them, and they're full NDI. And that, to me, is a winning combination. Kudos to the guys at BirdDog for designing some great products. This was Gary at Videoguys. Remember to like us on Facebook. Watch us on YouTube. We've got an Instagram that's going now that we're really excited about, that you can follow us on Instagram too. You know, this whole social media thing works by you helping us and you liking us, you subscribing, you telling your friends, you sharing stuff. So please help us spread the social media Video Guys love. My apologies. I got so excited. I got choked up talking about BirdDog and talking about Video Guys. This is Gary from Video Guys. Thank you for tuning in Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Peace.
Thank you for watching this week's Video Guys live webinar. Join us next week, Tuesday, March 23rd, for a new webinar on Wirecast software and Wirecast gear. The following week, we'll have another live show about live streaming encoders and some options to help you get started streaming. Join us every week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook and YouTube pages for our Video Guys live webinar with the latest news about live streaming, production, video editing, and storage. Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.